Day 2 of the 2005 Citgo Bassmaster Classic is the day to make your move.
You ready for it? Day 2?
Absolutely.
Day 2, baby. Day 2. Citgo Bassmasters Classic, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Day 2 is important because Day 2 is elimination day. You have to be among the top 25 if you want to fish for the championship. This is a matter of ounces.
Yeah!
Just one could tip the scale.
It's going to be really close.
So far, the waters of Pittsburgh have been plentiful. But the fish, lots of them, but not much to them.
Be 12 inches.
Holding that close is a big bag.
Most too small to matter, too light to count. This is elimination day. Only the top 25 will survive.
That's right.
The difference between winning, what might have been, could be one minuscule notch on the scale.
It's going to be drama.
Yeah!
Every ounce is going to be critical.
But one big catch can put you on top at the Bassmaster Classic. It is indeed a pleasure to bring you to this city, Pittsburgh, PA, for the 2005 Citgo Bassmaster Classic, our ESPN coverage, taking you all the way up to the weigh-in this afternoon. That comes up at 5:30. What a city. What great sports traditions are here, and an angler will be added to the lore and legend of Pittsburgh when it's all over. After day 1, let's take a look at the scores. Day 1 fishing in the Classic. Well, we got a lot of the big names from the sport. Iconelli, Van Dam, they're all hanging in there along with Aaron Martins, but the surprising name, Jimmy Mize, at the top of that scoreboard after the first day of fishing. There's your scoreboard, up to date right now. The man who has taken over is George Cochran. He's won 2 classics, one of them on the Ohio River, one of the 3 rivers here that we're talking about. Yes, folks, it is a Pittsburgh thing all week long here. What a race. What a race we have going on here. We are high above the convention center, high above the Allegheny River here. We have got the best seats in the house to bring you the Classic. You are going to get to be a spectator in a sport that's not normally thought of as a spectator sport. With all our coverage we have for you today, we're going to bring you all over Pittsburgh, all over the 3 rivers, and show you something amazing. There's something amazing, something that captivates the imagination of every angler that ever dreamed of tournament fishing. That is the prize right there, the World Championship of Bass Fishing, the Bassmaster Classic Trophy. I'm Tommy Sanders, along with Mark Menendez, former and future, I'm sure, Classic contender. Mark, great to have you along with us today.
I'm glad to be here at the 3 rivers, where the river runs south to my part of the world. The Ohio makes it all the way there, so I'm glad to be here.
You'll be seeing this water after a while. Here's our playing field. Let's take a look at it. The 3 rivers, of course, we've got on the Allegheny, the Monongahela, and the Ohio River. We take you right into southwestern Pennsylvania. Again, outdoors is so big in this part of the country, fishing and hunting, and these 3 rivers are our playing field for today. Tough fishing, but an equal playing field for everyone. There's the point where they all come together, the Allegheny from the north, Monongahela from the south, to form the Ohio. Run us through it, Mark.
It certainly is. Up the Monongahela, the Allegheny. The Allegheny is the first lock right there, a short distance, about 14 miles there that they have to fish, on up to the Monongahela. 2 locks there where most of our competitors are angling at right now, 41.5 miles. Then back to the big river where they come together, back down the river where the old slow Ohio starts its path meandering toward my part of the world. 2 locks there all the way. They've got about 31 miles right there, and that's where the big story could come from, Tommy, right there.
All right, that many miles to fish. What I'm going to ask you right now, is this a big fishing area or is it small for these guys? Are the actual opportunities limited?
Well, there are unlimited opportunities, but they're in very small areas. You can see the Monongahela is really rocking and rolling with 78 catches. Allegheny catching about 20 fish right there. The Ohio River following up to just a small amount there, just 2, Tommy.
All right, the Monongahela, the river to watch as it has been on day 1. Now it is in day 2. Highlights from today. Let's take a look at what has gone on out there on the water today. 7:13 a.m. Here's Kevin Van Dam. He's got the momentum coming into this tournament, and he catches a good one to start his day 2.
Kevin may be looking for larger bass, Tommy. He's using a technique that nobody else is using. Gerald Swindle, he's always in the hunt. Look at him. Right behind there, gets one in the boat at 7:14.
He has been catching huge numbers of fish actually through both days. Aaron Martins, the 2005 Citgo Angler of the Year, another guy with momentum.
Sure is. Spin has been in the zone all year, our Angler of the Year. Loses that one, but here's Mike Iaconelli fighting the fish very carefully where he said ounces are precious. I bet he does a dance if this one gets in the boat.
These guys getting things underway early in the day. You need a wake-up call. Just listen for Iaconelli if he catches a good fish. Here's Jeff Reynolds of Oklahoma, another dark horse.
Yes, he is, and Jeff is also competing to get in the 2006 Classic. He's not yet made it, but look here, one gets in the boat early, he may be headed that way.
All right, let's get through this scoreboard here as quickly as we possibly can. George Cochran, again, the man on top, made the super move on day number 2. He cannot shake Kevin Van Dam. That's a scary thought, having Van Dam behind you.
It always is when Kevin's in the hunt and he's aggressive and he's looking for those bigger fish.
Mike Iaconelli in there as well. Aaron Martins has dropped out of the top 10.
Out of the top 10, but we've got classic rookies there on the bottom of the scale. They're looking to make their mark here too. Cliff Pace and Dave Wolak.
This is elimination day, so we look at the bubble. That mark is the 25th mark. Greg Gutierrez of California, classic rookie, is on the bubble, and the man just below it, who's grinding now for the rest of the day, try to catch enough fish, David Walker, who's done well in classics in years past, and one of the biggest names in all the sport, Larry Nixon right behind him.
Following that up on the following part of the page, guys starting to get on the scoreboard. Good to see them. We've got, looks like Dean Rojas, Rick Clunn right there tight. Rick Clunn, our greatest angler debate winner. Hey, who can fault that?
All right, and a lot of other big names did not make it. Jay Yellis, no keepers so far in this tournament. A huge surprise, maybe none huger than Greg Hackney not performing up to expectations here. We're going to take you out on the water, talking about bubble guys, but right now we're going to see who Robbie Floyd has got out there. He's burning up a lot of gas out there. Robbie, I know you are right now.
I have absolutely no one right now. I thought I was going to have Greg Gutierrez, but just as I was going to talk about him, he bailed out of here. And the reason I mentioned him, classic rookie, also a tour rookie that did very well. He made his way into the tour by way of the Opens and the Open Championship. This guy had just got through fishing this one, bridge piling. We're going to be talking a lot about bridge pilings today. Also finesse fishing. The Monongahela is where it's at. That's where I'm at. I'm going to try and get you as many guys as possible. Guys, first let's go over and see what's happening on the other side of the water with Kim Bain.
Well, another angler that's feeling the heat, not only from the day, but also the pressure of fishing his first classic, Cliff Pace. Was in 10th place coming into today's competition, but unofficially has slipped back to 19th spot. Now, he has no fish for today, and he is desperately trying to catch some fish so he can make the top 25. Right now, he is only a half a pound out of being booted for fishing tomorrow. So that's a tough deal for him. He is definitely gunning and running. He was in the Ohio, now he's in the Monongahela. And anyway, over to you, Tommy. There's lots happening out here.
Oh, absolutely there is. Thank you, Kim Bain and Robbie Floyd. Notables below the cut. We hit on some of those. Larry Nixon, one of the greatest of all time. Takahiro Mori, last year's champ.
Last year's champ. Rick Clunn, past champ. Greg Hackney, Rookie of the Year. I was looking for big things. I'm still not counting him out, Tommy.
All right, these guys still have time to make it happen. They catch 2 or 3, maybe 4 fish. They can make it into this thing. All right, we got a lot more coverage on the way to get you ready. Anglers to watch, take a look at this.
Ah, yeah, baby. Ah, yeah. There he is, too. Good one. Ah! Never give up! Yes! Yeah! Ah!
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the Citgo Bassmaster Classic is brought to you by Citgo and in part by Purolator and Toyota. Welcome back. ESPN's coverage of the Citgo Bassmaster Classic 2005. What a view. What a beautiful city as you come through the pit tunnel. The city of Pittsburgh spreads out in front of you, and it is gorgeous. It's nothing like maybe your memories of 35, 40, 50 years ago. It's not the dirty mill town anymore. It's a gorgeous place with a great fishery, and that's the prize for all our anglers this week at the Classic. The World Championship of Bass Fishing, Tommy Sanders along with Mark Menendez. Have we got some seats or what? We look behind us here. More of this beauty that we can see. PNC Park, home of the Pirates. Beyond that, the fairly new Heinz Field, home of the Steelers. Oh, man, we're going to, in fact, should we tip this off? We're going to talk to Ben Roethlisberger. He's scheduled to be on the set a little bit later, so we've got a lot of excitement on the way. All right, we're going to take a look at what's happening at the Classic. We got full up-to-the-minute coverage, scores, and everything, but right now, let's take a look at our Toyota rules of the game as explained by our anglers.
Hi, I'm Jay Yellis.
I'm Rick Klein.
I'm Mitch Monroe.
Zell Rowland.
Dean Rojas.
I'm Mike Iaconelli.
I'm Skeet Reese.
I'm Marty Stone.
And these are the rules of our game.
The world's best anglers compete
in the 2005 Citgo Bassmaster Classic.
3 days of competition.
3 days of cracking the whip.
on the Allegheny,
The Ohio.
And the Mon. It's a catch and release tournament.
You're allowed to keep 5 each day.
Day 2 is elimination day.
Top 25 will qualify to fish in the third and final round.
The angler with the heaviest weight will be your 2005
Citgo Bassmasters Classic World Champion.
Hey, that's what it's all about, especially that last statement from Jay Ellis there. The guy with the most fish when it's all over is the guy who's going to win, and that's all you have to keep in mind, right?
That's right, catching them each day. Consistency is going to be a big key here, Tommy. The river changes on day-to-day basics, and the guy that follows the river the best is going to be the guy that can be consistent.
All right, the guy who did it the best on day 1. Maybe you don't know him yet. It's Jimmy Mize of Ben Lomond, Arkansas, there in southwest Arkansas. Jimmy Mize, 49 years old, still has his job at the paper mill, commutes to Ashdown, Arkansas every day. I think that might change if he were to hang on somehow and win this Bassmaster Classic. We'll take a look at his map from yesterday. Jimmy Mize went up the Monongahela River and had a very definite purpose in mind.
He certainly did. He made the first lock, carried on up the river through the second lock, and found a nice river bend there. And there's something special there. There's a little bit of vegetation, Tommy, keeping a population of fish there. See, he started there, put 4 in the boat quickly, but look at the names that are around him, and they're all in the hunt. Tim Horton is there. Looks like George Cochran is there. All these guys are there for a purpose. They're finding a small area that's got something different there.
George Cochran, our leader today right now as we speak, but Jimmy Mize really struggling today. It may be the second day curse of the Classic. We might talk to you about that a little bit later. Jimmy Mize knows the nerves he's going through right now.
Certainly is. It's a tough deal to be in, but you've had a great day. You need to put it behind you, and even though he may be fishing slow right now, he's currently 10th. These are unofficial. Fishing slow, he's still in the groove, Tommy. He's around those fish. He's going to make the commitment to stay in that area. I'm certain of it.
All right, one of our big stories, places versus patterns. Jimmy obviously fishing a specific place. As far as patterns go, we got a lot of entertainment watching the guys fish these bridge piers, and there are plenty of them in Pittsburgh.
It seemed like yesterday those bridges made such a big difference. You know, lots of fish being caught around them. They're still starting to catch a lot of fish. They're still catching them, and catch rates are up, Tommy, as far as keeper fish.
We'll take you below, take a look at the Citgo Bass Eye View, and Mark, tell us what's going under those bridges.
Well, under the bridge is the secret. The bridge pillar itself breaks that current and gives that bass a place to hide and make an ambush point. They're starting to get those fights up on top and in on the bottom. The front part of these has got lots of trash, lots of debris that's washed up there. That's the risk the angler takes by casting right there, getting a good fish hung up. Ounces matter here, Tommy. That's dangerous.
I want to bring in some coverage right now from a guy who has spent a lot of his life, especially a few years ago, right here in the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so he is intimately familiar with all the bridges here. Jerry McInnes has fished many a bridge in his day. I want you to check us out on these bridges yourself. Tell us what's the real story, Jerry.
Well, I got to tell you right off the bat, Tommy, there are hundreds of fishermen in this building thinking there is a secret lure out there. So that's what they're after. And I've got my bodyguards behind me here, though. So don't mess with me saying there's
Won't do it.
Menendez. Hey, let's talk a little more about those bridge piers. Do you know there are more bridges in the city of Pittsburgh than any other city in the United States? Which means there's more bridge piers, and these guys are wearing them out. The thing about it is most of them are fishing with finesse techniques. They're throwing drop shots. They're throwing little tubes and jigs. Kevin Van Dam is throwing a live shiner jerk bait, which kind of surprises me. He did pretty good with it yesterday. He's caught a fish or two on it today as well. This is a bait that, you know, it's a jerk bait. So you got to throw it out against the pilings. As we look at Kevin yesterday, this is his catch yesterday. That was the best fish of his day. That was the best fish. He actually tied for the largest fish in the tournament yesterday. Again, he caught that on a jerk bait. He was able to throw it on spin and tackle against the bridge piers and catch that really nice bat. I know he's very hopeful that he will not catch that lure in his kill switch today as he did tomorrow, or as he did yesterday. Tommy, I said what the city with the most bridges in the United States. What's the #1 city in the world with the most bridges?
Is there a city in the world that has more bridges than Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
Venice.
Venice.
Which means we'll be going to the Classic 2021 in Venice.
Okay, well, we'll look out for that. Thank you, Jerry McInnes. All right, we got a lot more coverage to bring you here. We are all over the water. So much to learn, so many guys to keep up with. You get updated on. But right now, these guys, hey, they have no hesitation on telling you how tough the fishing is here at the Three Rivers this week.
It's the toughest term I've ever fished.
Oh, no! It is a very unpredictable river.
It's going to take all of our skills to catch a limit.
That's a heartbreaker. When you set the hook on that fish, you know, it's do or die. That fish has got to get in the boat, and that is a lot of pressure.
Don't come off. It's a big one.
When things don't go your way and it's in the biggest event there is, it's hard to overcome that mentally.
The worst mistake you can make is think you're out of it just because you had a bad day.
Yes! Yeah! Ah, another one. Yes! Yeah! Ah, big one. God! Oh, man, 5 minutes is off. I knew it. I just knew it. Wow! Bassmaster Classic champ!
Boy, what a year it was for that man, Takahiro Omori, the first international winner of the Citgo Bassmaster Classic. There's the trophy down there in the convention center on the floor where the ESPN Classic Outdoor Show is going on. Tommy Sanders, Mark Menendez, really pumped up today. We're getting you ready for everything that's going on later tonight on ESPN. The weigh-in coming up at 5:30 on ESPN for day 2, a very critical weigh-in. Critical tournament for Takahiro Omori, of course, trying to be one of the second guy ever to go back-to-back classics. I know Robbie Floyd's out on the water. He's been following the exploits of Tak, and Tak has mostly struggled this week, hasn't he, Robbie?
Yeah, he has a hard. Unfortunately, I heard somebody say Tak is zero. I'm so sorry, but he actually has one fish now. But we have footage of him catching a fish a little bit earlier. I want you to take a look at this. I mean, you got to be stoked if you're up the Ohio with Greg Hackney, places that, you know, a lot of the guys went because they thought that's where the big largemouth would be, but that hasn't really been the case. Takahiro did catch a fish. You can see him trying to work the fish in. Unfortunately, when he gets up to the boat, it's a carp. Man, I cannot believe this. Takahiro does have one fish. He's in 29th place right now, and he needs some help if he's going to make it in the top 25, but the field is so tight. 25th could still win this thing literally at the end of the day, and that was actually a drum, not a carp, by the way, in case of all the people out there going to harass me. You see in the distance, Terry Scroggins, my boy, he went to that spot we talked about at the top of the day, how Preston Clark had that one little outlet that he went to. Well, Terry Scroggins beat him to it today. He caught one fish in there. Currently, he has 3 fish. He's in the top 10, but this is the one thing that's different. He caught his somewhere other than the Monongahela. Our leaders are mostly catching fish in the Monongahela, but he's actually heading up towards the Ohio, and I'm going to see where he ends up. Back to you, Tommy.
All right, thank you very much, Robbie. We talk about Takahiro. You know, our leader right now, a former Classic champ as well, George Cochran, but repeating in a Classic is just almost unheard of. We'll get to it in a moment, the only man who's ever done it. But it changes your life in a lot of great ways. Makes your next year of fishing very difficult, doesn't it, Mark Menendez?
It certainly does, Tommy. The guys have a tremendous time constraints, responsibilities with sponsors, speaking engagements, and the third thing is it gets them away from fishing. They don't get a chance to organize their tackle and stay right on that razor's edge of being a Classic champion. You see the Classic champions, and they have tough times coming back. You know, it's amazing how much that does affect your fishing.
All right, we've had even guys that take the year off, you know, because they knew they weren't going to fish worth a flip, really capitalize on all the financial opportunities. Let's take a look at how the Classic champs have fared in the next year. And Takahiro Omori, not looking so good right now, but Mike Iaconelli, pretty decent, 19th, same thing for Jay Ellis. Kevin Van Dam, surprisingly, didn't do too much better, didn't do very well at all by his standards the next year, and he's a guy you would expect to be wound up, pumped up by the confidence, by the momentum he would pick up from a Classic win.
Absolutely. Kevin's won the event before, but he wants a second crack at it. He wants to add his name to those few fishermen that have been multi-year winners.
All right. Well, there was only one back-to-back winner of the Citgo Bassmaster Classic, and that was Rick Clunn. Rick Clunn has got a slew of awards. He's won just about every accolade you could possibly ever have in the world of bass fishing. I'll tell you what, he won another important one this past week. We will get to that in just a few minutes here, so a lot of reasons to stick around. Our coverage will continue after this. Rick Clunn, as a matter of fact, the total catch of 59 pounds, 15 ounces, won the 76 Classic in Guntersville, Alabama. He goes back-to-back. 1977, he heads down to Lake Toho there in Florida. The first angler ever to win back-to-back Classics, 27 pounds, 7 ounces on Toho. Moved to the all-time top of the money list as well. Rick Clunn will get into his latest accolade when we come back, as we say. More coverage on the way. Don't go away.
Rick is pretty much the man, the boss, the Mac Daddy. He has won everything he's ever fished in.
The pimp, the firefighter. I mean, this guy is the ultimate.
It's just phenomenal, the things that he's done and achieved.
Rick Clunn is the man.
Well, they're always talking about that guy. The man is Rick Clunn. Why are they talking about him extra this week? Well, it's been a pretty important week for one reason. In particular, the fact that this week wraps up one of the greatest sort of controversies in fishing. Invented, surely, but it's a controversy that's been happening since there were two fishermen on this earth. Which of you is better? Who's the greatest fisherman of all time? Of course, we came out with 35 nominees for the title Greatest Angler of All Time. That came out at the first of the year. It was winnowed down to 10 semifinalists, online voting from all the fans through the years, and it came down to these two finalists, Rick Clunn and Roland Martin. Roland Martin with his 9 Angler of the Year titles, Rick Clunn with the 4 classic wins. Both worthy adversaries in that one, and of course it was all settled this week. The votes were counted, the voting stopped on the internet, and it was announced this week here in Pittsburgh to a very appreciative audience that the greatest angler of all time was that man right there, Rick Clunn. Very gracious, as always, was Rick, as was Roland Martin.
I would like to congratulate you once again on being the greatest angler of all time. It is absolutely our pleasure.
This morning, Rick, you told me, I said, what do you have?
Well, Rick Clunn, of course, the 4 Bassmaster Classics, a record 20. This is his 29th appearance. He missed the last 3, got himself back into it. 4 classic titles. Some people say that one will never be equaled. We will see. Well, another man who is a big part of the history, maybe the biggest, the start of the history of bass and the Bassmasters is with Jerry McInnes right now on the convention center floor in the Lawrence Convention Center. Jerry's a special guy, and you're ready to have a little chat with him right now, I assume.
I'm ready to go. It's kind of unusual. I'm interviewing a man who was a complete failure at selling insurance. If it wasn't for that, he might not be sitting here. As it is, he is the father of bass fishing.
Well, Jerry, you're always so kind. I've known you since before bass, and you asked me once, how's the insurance business, and why did you get out? I told you, you could call a man up at night about his life insurance, he'd hang up in your face. When I got in the bass fishing business, you could call him up, he's in the bed with his wife or somebody, and he'd come out running and talk about it. That's crazy, it's wonderful.
Hey, let me steer you into the right subject here. Rick Clunn, Roland Martin, the best 2 anglers of all time, bass anglers. No question. What do you think?
I think that I could have drawn strong. I could have drawn strong, yes. Both incredible anglers. I'll be honest with you, I voted once for one and one for the other. It was just, I think the world saw it. It's a marvelous debate. And a lot of good men were right beneath them, but those 2 are the best.
Why were they the best?
God gave them the special skills. This is not something you learn in a college book or in Bassmaster magazine, for that matter, but they were gifted, and they were men that could hold their cool, and Clunn is a master at working the brain and relating to the bass.
Okay, what about their longevity, though? These are old guys. Well, they're older than you and I.
Oh, much older than you and me. I think age and maturity have a lot to do with it, but Clunn and Martin came on young as young men in their 20s with that marvelous skill to trick the bass, to make it all come together under all circumstances.
That's Tommy, I think that's a pretty good description right there. What do you think?
I totally agree with you. If you want the history, you go to the source, and the source in this case, as in most cases with bass, is Ray Scott.
Absolutely, Ray's just been phenomenal for our sport.
All right, we're going to take you out on the water now. Kim Bain has got a new phenomenon, and a guy most people don't know until this year. Jeff Reynolds has had a fantastic year on the Citgo Bassmaster Tour. Right now he's having a pretty good classic. Kim, what have you got for us on Jeff Reynolds?
Well, Jeff Reynolds, unofficially, of course, looks like he's sitting in about 12th position. He's caught 3 fish today. He's got 2 keepers in the well, which really isn't too bad when you consider that only 1 limit has been caught today. Out of all the anglers competing on all 3 rivers, only 1 limit, and that's by angler Scott Rook, who has actually moved into second spot. But interestingly, Jeff has moved around all over the place. I first caught up with him in the Ohio River, and he caught a very nice fish there. He was targeting the drains, using that current and using some soft plastic techniques, and now he's moved on and he's fishing some of the bridge pylons with a drop shot. He's definitely looking for a few more keepers to bump him up a few more spots.
All right, thank you, Kim. Good report. Good tournament so far for Jeff Reynolds. Jeff Reynolds, again, from Platter, Oklahoma. He's a country boy, he'll tell you that, but boy, he's very sophisticated when it comes to his fishing.
It sure is, and he's fishing for 2 classics here. He's one of the guys that has not qualified for the other classic next year in February in Toho. So he's right on that bump board. He needs to catch a couple more to get him in there.
All right, let's take a look at the leaderboard right now. George Cochran still on top of that leaderboard in this fishing in day 2 of the Classic. George Cochran, the man on top. Remember, he's won a Classic on the Ohio River already. Scott Rook, though, a river fisherman from the state of Arkansas, has moved up into 2nd place. Scott Rook, another dark horse, but definitely a guy to look out. He's had high finishes in the Classic before.
He's been there before. He's been in 2nd place before. He's looking to get over the edge, Tommy. He's way up there and a great river fisherman.
All right, well, as we say, there's going to be a fisherman added to the legend and lore, the sports legend of the great city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a place with so much sports legend. All right, taking one more look at that leaderboard. George Cochran still on top, and there's the newest name in Pittsburgh sports legend, Ben Roethlisberger. What an amazing rookie season he had, 16-2, all the way to the AFC Championship. We will have Ben Roethlisberger on set here, and maybe get a preview of his ball game with you, Mark Menendez. Don't miss this. It's coming up next. What a great sports town. What a great place to have the Classic. It was just across the river from our vantage point here, Heinz Field, home of the Steelers. And you think of names like Bradshaw, Harris, Swan, all the legends of the sport. And now, man, oh man, we've got a new one, Ben Roethlisberger. What a season Ben Roethlisberger had in 2004. Took the team all the way, 16-2, all the way to the AFC Championship. And Ben Roethlisberger, we're so lucky to have you on the set here today, Ben. Thank you so much for being here. And man, oh man, 16-2 all the way to the championship. There's only one more thing they're going to ask of you this year. You know what that is, right?
I do, and it's undefeated and win a Super Bowl.
That's no big deal, right?
I know, it's tough. It's high expectations we set on ourselves.
You're from Ohio, not too far away from. We don't have a single Ohio boy fishing in the Classic here, and I know just like this part of southwestern Pennsylvania, the outdoors are huge in your part of the world where you grew up.
Absolutely. I grew up hunting and fishing. I did a little bit of bass fishing. I did a lot of fly fishing for trout, and I enjoy that. But I got to get out and get some lessons the other day from Mark, and hopefully it'll improve my bass fishing.
All right, now let's see. Did you turn around and whip him? I know you're both competitive guys. Who won the fishing matchup? Well, I know we got that coming up later.
Yeah, he got me, but I got him with throwing the football. So
absolutely, he certainly did.
Do you have any time for bass fishing these days, Ben?
It's tough. During the off season, we have a lot of time to go fishing and do some fun. I was telling Mark that I did some fly fishing for trout not too long ago, but bass fishing when I go home, do some pond fishing and all that. It's a lot of fun.
Well, looking at you guys out on the river. I think you were on the Monongahela, were you not?
Yes, we were.
All right, there's Mark. Some good tips. This guy's full of tips.
It was. He gave me a lot of helpful things. He was teaching me how to cast into tight areas.
All right, what's his strength, Mark?
Well, I tell you what, he's pretty agile. He's great with the football, and he was getting the crankbait where it needed to be. You see him shooting a great cast right there. So we had a lot of fun with it, and we kind of parlayed that into football and fishing to see what are the likes and what are the dislikes of the same.
All right, the season coming up. You got basically the same team in place with a few notable exceptions. We're talking about, of course, Hines Ward possibly going to sit this one out as long as it takes, he says. Is that come into your mind? Does that play into your game plan for the year?
You know, not really, because I know that Hines is a great athlete and a great leader for our team, and he'll be there, whether it's on Monday when we start or whether it's a week, 2 weeks, however long it takes. He'll be there, and when he comes, he'll be just as good, if not better than always.
Jerome Bettis really stepping it up last year, really making things happen like you for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Going to need some more magic like that again this year. You can't make it happen, but you just hope for it, right?
Absolutely. You know, the ball's got to bounce your way a couple times, and we're lucky to have Jerome Bettis back. He's such a great leader and great teammate, and at least one more year, we'll see if we can talk him into more.
How are you liking Pittsburgh?
I love it. It's a great city.
This is a city that gets so much behind its sports heroes, the Clementes, the Bradshaws. It's got to feel sometimes like you've got the weight of the whole city on your shoulders. Does it get ever difficult for you?
A little bit. It is a sports city, and I think we have the best fans in all the sports, no matter what, hands down. And they love their Steelers, and we love them, and it's some pressure sometimes, but that's what you love and that's what you thrive on.
All right. Well, you're the farthest guy away from retirement in the NFL right now. You got so many years, so many great years ahead of you. But I think about it. I mean, these guys have to make precision casts. You make precision passes. They have to read the water. You have to read defenses. I'm thinking maybe a career in pro bass fishing for Ben Roethlisberger when
maybe
it's all
after
over.
football, wouldn't mind.
All right. Thank you so much, Ben. We appreciate your time. Training camp starts tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good luck to you for 2005,
Thank
man.
you. Appreciate it.
All right, the champions of Pittsburgh. We'll take a look at the Pitt Panthers there. 9 titles for them. The Pirates, man, oh man, 5 series. The Steelers, 4 Super Bowls. Goes on and on. The Penguins fixing to crank it up again. That's good news as well. Man, what a sports town. What a place for the Classic. And the Classic is ongoing right now on the 3 rivers. All right, we're going to take you down to one of those 3 rivers. And Mike Iaconelli, the 2003 Citgo Bassmaster Classic champion, Mike Iaconelli, has had a little bit of a struggle today. Here's just a little symptom of it right there, Mark Menendez.
It's a swing. He's got a good fish on here, and he's going to try to get it in. He said ounces count, but watch what's going to happen here. He's fighting the fish very carefully, making it, oh, and the fish comes off. He's disgusted with himself. He just fires right back out there. But another angler who has made a great comeback, Tommy, is Gerald Swindle. He's catching them like crazy today, being careful right here, trying to get this fish in the boat. Yes! Has moved all the way to 4th place unofficially. That's a huge move from where he was yesterday, Tommy.
Do you think of Gerald Swindle as a river angler?
Well, he fishes a lot on the Coosa River, which river fishing is all dictated by current. Doesn't matter where you are, the current is what tells you where to fish on rivers.
Hard to believe. He was our 2004 Citgo Angler of the Year. Also hard to believe that he has never won a tournament with the Bassmasters. That is really incredible, and you know he's overdue.
He's overdue. He's the next Phil Mickelson of bass fishing.
All right, the man in the first slot right now is George Cochran again. He's won a Classic. He's won it on the Ohio River, and he's won it in the lowest scoring tournament of all time. All those 3 things, a convergence coming together certainly in George Cochran's favor. Scott Rook is the man who has moved up. Scott Rook, a good river fisher.
An absolute river rat there in Little Rock, Arkansas. Tough fisherman. Looking at some other guys here, Davey Height, former Classic winner, moving up just a little bit, and rookie Dave Wolak is in the top 20 there.
All right, Aaron Martin's our Angler of the Year. A lot of people picking him. Edwin Evers, a lot of people pick him as well. He's always tough in tough fishing conditions.
He certainly is. Steady Edwin, he's going to be there. Larry Nixon there, former Classic champion as well.
All right, the guys on the bubble. You got to be in the top 25 if you want to make it to the final day. The guys with a lot of work to do. John Cruz, Rick Clunn, Dean Rojas, but it doesn't mean they can't make it happen, right?
One cast here, Tommy, is so important. One fish, one good bite bumps you way up on the leaderboard. There's Greg Hackney, past Rookie of the Year, and someone we expected a lot from on this river.
Well, a lot of guys at this point are ruining lost opportunities, but you can't think around that. We're going to take you inside the Lawrence Convention Center here where the ESPN Classic Outdoor Show is going on. This is one of the most popular outdoor shows, consumer outdoor shows in the country. You can see everything from fully rigged bass boats to high-tech undergarments. You know what I'm talking about. We'll be back with more coverage when we return.
Now, first champion of the Bassmaster Classic 1971, Bobby Murray.
Hey, pal. We live in a country that'll let us go as far as we want. So how far we excel or how high we go depends on each individual.
Don't do it slow. I know how a man feels on death row. Put him on the scale, do it.
Classic champion Michael Iaconelli, 2004 Citgo Bassmaster Classic champ.
All right, the weigh-in, such an important part of the Classic through the years. That's what people remember, the weigh-in. We've got our Elimination Day weigh-in coming up today. The biggest event in bass fishing in the Citgo Bassmasters Classic weigh-in show on ESPN tonight, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Man, it was excitement. They were raising the roof on day 1 of the Classic. A huge crowd for a day 1. And Mike Iaconelli coming in with a Penguins jersey on there. I think he had a Pirates hat on as well. He knows how to work a crowd.
Certainly does. I wonder if he stole that from Mario.
He may have. Mario will be looking for him. All right. Man, what a day. A great weigh-in coming up today. Big day, as we say. We keep harping on this. This is Elimination Day. You have to be among the top 25 if you're going to fish on, have a shot at that championship. We're going to take you down on the water right now. One of the guys moving up in the standings right now. Are we with Robbie? Robbie's down there with Scott Rook.
Yeah, I want to talk about Scott Rook. I'm actually not with him. He's farther than I could get. I mean, he's way up the Monongahela. He's the only man with the limit right now, 5 fish, 12-inch limit out there. The only guy with the limit on the day. And yesterday, he told me he got his first keeper at 1 p.m. So it was a late day for him. And it would have been even better, but he went to this one spot that he knew fish were, and actually where he went to go fish it, there was a local guy in that area at like a treatment discharge. It was where water was coming out there, stirring up stuff, a lot of bait fish, and he said this local guy was whacking them. He was killing them yesterday, and it was killing Scott to watch it happen. But I guess he started pulling off, throwing on the bank, a little small crankbait, and it paid off. It got him up there inside the top 25, but right now he's in second place, looking to move on up. Again, I said he caught his first keeper at 1 p.m. yesterday. I still got 15 minutes till today. What do you got for me, Kim?
Well, I'm with Garrett Klein also on the Mon, and unofficially he has moved up to 8th place. Now, he hasn't caught quite as many fish as he caught yesterday. Yesterday, 33 for 3 keepers. Today, he's caught 10 fish for 3 keepers, but unofficially, right, he has moved up into 8th place, which is awesome. And I had a chance to catch up with Gary yesterday, and he said he wasn't going to change up at all today. He was just having so much fun catching fish, and he would nut it out, and he was sure that he'd catch his keepers today. So he's doing really, really well. He's behind us. He's still fishing those bridge pylons. Looks like he's got his spinning rod out. He's fishing that finesse tactic. Looks like he's got a drop shot, and he's catching a lot of fish and just having a great time.
Catching plenty of fish was his deal yesterday. He's going through the numbers, Tommy. He's getting lots of bites, and he's playing the odds. He's around a lot of fish, and sooner or later, he's going to get one to make that 12-inch.
Caught more fish than anyone yesterday. He's apparently on to something. What can make you go from catching fish the size of a Snickers bar to fish that are keepers?
Well, it's just that break of luck that he pulls up on the right pylon.
All right, take a look at this. Most classic appearances without a win. Gary Klein falls into that category. He's only second to Roland Martin, who was second in the greatest angler debate. Harold Allen, Jimmy Houston in there. Very frustrating for Gary Klein. This one he wants above anything else in the world. You got to figure that.
Absolutely. Klein is such a fierce competitor. This is the one thing in fishing that he has not gotten. So we've got to catch him here. He wants to be that classic champion, and there's just a couple hours left to fish in the game here.
Well, Gary Klein, some people have noted it as being controversial, has made his way into this classic. We can talk about that through the weekend. He's also in the 2006 classic as well, and things are changing for 2006 in a big way in the Bassmasters world. The sweeping changes were announced a couple of weeks ago, and in 2006, the classic will start the season, much like with Daytona and NASCAR. They will start it down at Lake Toho, of course, where all the records were set for single-day catches and 4-day catches as well.
Well, we're going to catch some big fish down there in Toho. It's a fantastic time to be there. It's a spawn. We may see Rojas' record there tumble there in a classic. I think most of our classic records will be in jeopardy there.
45 pounds and 9 ounces for a single 5-fish limit. There are the changes for 2006. They are huge. The tour stops will go from 6 all the way to 11 events. States visited all the way up to 12. We would have the addition of 3 major tournaments. That's 14 big events possible for these guys, and I think the biggest effect this is going to have on the Angler of the Year race, the character of that award is going to change.
Certainly is. With 14 events, you've got to be very steady, very, very consistent. Not just hitting home runs, hitting lots of singles, doubles, and stretching one out for a triple will get you that Angler of the Year. It's going to be a lot of wear and tear on the anglers, a lot of weather conditions, a lot of changing conditions. So the guy that conditions himself and then changes with the rolls of the punches will be our Angler of the Year.
Well, the guy who did it 2005, Aaron Martins, the transplant from L.A., from Los Angeles, grew up there, learned how to bass fish. He's come here to this classic with huge expectations. A lot of people picking Aaron Martins to win this classic, and he is not out of it yet, but he can't have too many more incidents like the one we're about to witness.
Spin is top-notch with a spinning rod and a good one coming off right there. Didn't get a hook set good. Tough break. Aaron's tough guy. He'll bounce back from that. Watch and see.
Grew up catching tiny trout way up in the mountains. Do you suspect that he has downsized far below what any other angler would do in this classic competition? Is that possible he's going with 2 or 3 pound line?
He could be fishing with 4-pound line, 6-pound line. He won Angler of the Year at Table Rock using 6-pound line in a diminutive soft bait like that. So it's his style of fishing.
All right, the Anglers of the Year have struggled at this tournament. Traditionally, there has been one, Mark Davis, who went on, got the Angler of the Year award, went on to win the Classic. Okay, that's a big part of history. But there is the history in total right there. Gerald Swindle, 51st place, had a terrible Classic after winning Angler of the Year.
I think when Anglers of the Year win their award, they're at the top of their game, and then there's a big emotional letdown. You've got it on top. You've made the award. It's a tough deal. So now you get back to the Classic, and you've kind of had a letdown, and it's hard to get back to the top of the hill to perform at your peak.
of what you know of Aaron Martens when he has some disappointments like that broken off fish right there. How good is he at putting that out of his mind, bouncing back, because a lot of people are still expecting him, I'm sure, to go up and take the trophy on Sunday.
It's tough, Tommy. You have to put it out of your mind. It's past history. You've got to fish on the time that you have left for the day, so make sure that that is as efficient and as clean as you can possibly make it. Then you'll be ready to catch the next bite you get.
George Cochran, our unofficial leader right now. Of course, these scores, as we say again, are unofficial. The real weigh-in is the real weight. You have to watch the weigh-in for that. That's coming your way at 5:30 p.m. today, Eastern Time on ESPN. We'll have more coverage when we come back. ESPN's exclusive presentation of the Citgo Bassmaster Classic is brought to you by Citgo, and in part by Triton Boats. The Citgo Bassmaster Classic for 2005. We are in day 2, Elimination Day. Elimination Day, we say, because today you have to be among the top 25 if you want to fish on, if you want to have a shot at it. On the last day, the trophy that changes an angler's life. There's no doubt about that. It's the biggest event in fishing, and the biggest man so far in the biggest event of fishing is a man who has won it 2 times before, George Cochran from Hot Springs National Park, Arkansas. He is the leader right now. Scott Rook is the man who has moved up behind him, a fellow Arkansan. Kevin Van Dam not so far behind as we take a look at his full leaderboard.
Preston Clark, the rookie that had a great day yesterday, still in the game, and it looks like Dave Wolock is coming up the steps too.
All right. 25 is that cutoff mark as we look at the guys on the bubble. Greg Gutierrez, Dean Rojas, and Luke Clausen, 2 Western anglers who can get it done here, who can make their way into that final day. They just got to catch some keepers.
Absolutely. Former Classic winner Larry Nixon right there on that bubble. We want to see him move up too.
All right. We were expecting a lot of Western anglers to do well in this competition. Takahiro Omori, guys below the cut. Takahiro, last year's champ, T.O. Very surprising that he's not up among these.
And there's the greatest angler there too, Rick Clunn. And my biggest surprise, Tommy, is Greg Hackney. The lack of performance here. Greg is really gambling on trying to catch some big fish.
All right. Surprises for you during this first day, and well, we've only got maybe a little more than an hour and a half of competition left.
Absolutely. You know, Greg Hackney was my pick. I got him in the pool going on. I thought he would really catch some big fish in this deal. So we've got some other people out there ready to see what's going on with some breaking news, Tommy.
Yeah, Robbie Floyd out there. What have you got for us, Robbie?
Well, I think you kind of alluded to it when you started talking about that leaderboard. George Cochran, Scott Rook, they're in the first and second place positions. Both anglers from Arkansas, much like yourself, Tommy. I know you're proud of that. Both of these guys are from Arkansas. They're used to fishing the Arkansas River, a lot of current. Are you starting to notice a pattern? And they all happen to be, or both of them happen to be up the Monongahela. But as much as we talk about the Monongahela, there's another portion of that almost could be called the Quad Rivers instead of the Tri. Up there, what is that, the Yagahani? It's another fishery yesterday was doing fairly well. Today it must have turned off, and that was one of the little feeders into the Monongahela, and it was actually doing fairly well for guys like Edwin Evers yesterday, also Bradley Stringer, but it must have turned off, done something different. But I just got word that, again, up at the Monongahela, we might have a new leader, and this time is the guy who caught the first fish of the day. Gerald Swindle, supposedly, again, this is unofficial, is on top of the leaderboard.
Well, Gerald Swindle caught a slew of fish yesterday, Robbie. Is he doing anything different today that you've been able to figure out?
No, yesterday I think he took off. He got away from everything. When I saw him, I mean, this morning, he went straight across. I mean, he knew it was basically, what was it, right at the Ohio, not far from where the takeoff was. So he must have had one spot he wanted to hit quick and then get out of there because he wasn't there much longer than 15 minutes, caught his fish, and then got out of there. So it must have been one of those one-and-done deals for Swindle.
All right. What do you think about that? Swindle moving up the list. We were talking about him just a moment ago. He's due.
Rivers change every day, Tommy, and Gerald has been the first to figure out what the change needed to be today.
All right, a guy I know who's followed Gerald Swindle's career in a big way through the years, and all these anglers really. Jerry McKinnis down on the convention floor. What comes to mind to you as being the major story so far today, Elimination Day?
I tell you what, you're talking about surprises amongst anglers. An angler doing good or an angler doing bad really never surprises me. That's kind of part of the game. What my big surprise is around here was the fact that when I pulled through that tunnel up there on the mountain and looked at Pittsburgh, I didn't know it was going to be that beautiful. And the fans here have been a big surprise to me. You know, bass fishing is a sport that's supposed to be popular in Shreveport and in Birmingham and Nashville and Atlanta. The folks from Pittsburgh know about champions. They know about sports. And by gosh, you folks are into fishing, aren't you? Huh? All right. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Tommy, speaking of sports, I see behind you where Jason Bay has doubled He's on second base. I can see that, but I can't tell how many outs there are. Will you look around and check that out for me?
All right, we'll check that out for you right now. Out to Kim Bain, who has some final thoughts for our coverage today as well. Kim.
Final thoughts, a lot of moving and shaking on the leaderboard. Kind of scary, really. You know, Rick Clunn described this river as mysterious, and it has lived up to that terminology wholeheartedly. My thoughts, anybody that were fishing the bridge pylons today had to do well, really. I was talking to Gary Klein in the parking lot yesterday, and he was saying the thing about those fish on the bridge pylons, they're not resident fish, they're moving in and moving out. So you've got new fish coming in all the time. So I think that's why those guys have done really well. And also you've got the shade and the bait holding to that structure. So it's been really interesting, and it's been great on the water checking out what these guys have done. It'll be fantastic to see what happens tomorrow with the top 25. Back to you, Tommy.
Well, that's encouraging news from Kim Bain. That means we're going to have some fish tomorrow if Kim's right on the money there. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. And again, Tommy, I mentioned consistency. The person who figures this change out, rivers change daily, and the guys that can figure those changes out the quickest, most efficient, and get all their bites in the boat are going to make the jump up the leaderboard.
All right, there are some key people, some big names who are below the cut. You got to make it into the top 25 if you want to fish tomorrow. Take a look at that list right now, topped by the legend himself, Larry Nixon.
Absolutely. Takahiro, last year's returning champion, out there and not doing well at this point, but there's still a couple of hours left in fishing. One good cast can make a difference.
Man who finished right behind Takahiro Mori last year. Dean Rojas still struggling to make it into that top 25 as well. Greg Hackney, another big surprise. Greg Hackney, everyone had huge expectations for him moving into this thing.
Sure did, but I tell you what, Greg's a great angler. He'll have his day, maybe another day, and we're going to see Swindle making the big move. This could be his event.
All right, the players for tomorrow, the top 25, we will find out for sure. All our scores up to now, again, are unofficial. Log on to Bassmaster.com, ESPN.com to get that. All right, tune in tonight, 5:30 Eastern, for the 2005 Citgo Bassmaster Classic Elimination Weigh-In Show. For Bass membership information, log on to Bassmaster.com. For Mark Menendez, Jerry McInnes, Kim Bain, Robbie Floyd, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Tommy Sanders. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leaders in sport. Next up, we're going to the WNBA. It's going to be the Detroit Shock versus the Connecticut Sun. Right now, we turn it over to Mark Jones, Doris Burt, and Rebecca Lobo. Take it away.